Right. John, I'm excited. I've been really curious about your one for a month or so, as it's a space that I
Cool.
have no knowledge about. So
Nice.
over to you for your case study.
Cool. All right, let's do it. So, C Innovate. You might notice. Let me start my timer. C Innovate. That's the name of this project that I put together. A little pull on Innovate, the nice acronym slash paraphrasing. Um, so, where did this project come from? Well, the C of Innovate came from a project I worked on when COVID started called Counter Nature. So Counter Nature, CN, C Innovate. Yeah, a little play on words there. So Counter Nature was a project that I started up during COVID. Kind of got back into an old video game I used to play growing up. You know, kind of like a first-person shooter. Played it, go to all the tournaments, played in like leagues online, put in a ton of hours into it, and just left the game as I grew older. But when COVID came back, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm like, oh my God, Counter-Strike. So like I went on Craigslist, I got an old computer, picked it up, started playing again. And, it was just like a weird time, I think, everyone's life during COVID when it started. I guess it's, who knows what's going to happen now. But always wanted to have an entrepreneurial thing. So I was like, let me just start a side project with this as well. And so I started up this thing called Counter Nature, which is, kind of like a scouting network for players, upcoming players. So you have this like big professional scene, people see it with League of Legends, Call of Duty, all these different video games. You have like the professional scene, but you don't have like anything really looking at the upcoming players. So I put together this like news site that, we did YouTube videos, we wrote articles, we had a Twitter, which has a pretty decent following, as you can see. And yeah, just kind of started growing a community. It was a good time. It was a fun and interesting experience building on a website and all this stuff. But what I found is that it's very hard to get rewarded for the work and effort you put into building an online community. You know that there's value there in having an online community, especially with like the way video games are growing and whatnot. But it's very difficult to prove a point to why you deserve like advertiser money or really any money in general for whatever reason that is. Um, and so this was kind of going on in the background before I started Prod MBA. And then, starting the project or starting Prod MBA, trying to find a problem niche, putting down the list of things, everything was pretty, plastic and dry for me. But the one thing that really stood out was this genuine problem that I had with this project, whereas like, how do I generate funds around like what I'm doing here? And so that was pretty much the original problem statement, really, which, led me to this one. It's hard to make money from your online community, specifically within the gaming and esports demographics. Online communities spread wide and far. So, what I'm going to move forward with in this conversation is, it's applicable to online communities in general, but with my knowledge base and, the trajectory of the future of esports and gaming, it was easier for me to kind of apply to this niche. So where do I go from here? I started to reach out to other, founders and owners of like their online communities in gaming. So, different semi-professional teams that had like followings on the online. And so, for example, for more context, this, people that have different teams for different games like within their organization. So, like a really popular gaming organization, I guess, would be called Team Liquid. They have like a League of Legends team, they have a Counter-Strike team, they have all these different teams all performing under it. So, you obviously have lesser versions of that, semi-professional. And they're streaming matches on Twitch, they're doing like community games in Discord. They're trying to kind of like have something there. So these are people that are kind of like having the same sort of issues that I am. So I had conversations with, two people in the community about that. And the feedback from them was like, yeah, no questions asked, same exact problem, really struggling with it. So, immediate confirmation that they were having the same problems that I was having, which, and to go into some of those frustrations that really stood out were, it's hard to build a social media community. It's hard to translate this in-game success to social success. Companies don't understand esports and its marketing opportunities. It takes tons of effort to create like these community moments, and like you get so little in return. You're spending time planning, how can we get everyone together? What are we going to do? How's it going to be fun? What's going to, and like you do all this and it's like, what did this even do? We had like 20 people show up and that's a great success, but like, what did that do? It gave more connection, I guess, but like, where's my return on that investment? there's an overwhelming amount of metrics to track and display their value for conversion for these people, and these people being like the marketers and people that want to advertise this space. And once again, just not getting people to trust in you and give you the money you need for it. So the opportunities that came from that, giving guidelines for communities to follow for marketing, be the liaison and esports representative to and for these companies. So a lot of the companies like don't have people that understand like this demographic and market. So there's an opportunity to one, be that person. And like, so just to connect the dots between the marketing companies and the and the community. Another opportunity, like get organization and communities from different games so that we maximize reach, do big events, partners with different communities to get more viewership and sponsorship ads. So things were, it was an obvious problem confirmed, lots of different opportunities kind of all over the place. So that was confirmed. And now the solution to this kind of flipped things on its head, as I kind of talked about in like the beginning of the course, whereas like I found this problem, the niche is confirmed. The solution kind of like requires pitching to another problem niche. So like, how can I solve for these people? And that became kind of like the restart of the project, which is, we help forward-thinking advertisers 2x their revenue with our one-of-a-kind community-sourced advertising. So the idea is to take these communities and leverage them together in, kind of like a crowdsourcing opportunity, and making that the vehicle for these companies to do their marketing through, instead of saying I'm gonna choose this one big professional organization, I'm probably gonna blow tons of money. I probably will get a pretty good return, but like, you are spending a lot of money for that kind of exposure, and you're probably still not really getting a genuine connection with what you're trying to do. You're probably still not really going to get that great of sales. You're kind of just, a lot of those marketing opportunities are for companies that literally do have like that money to just throw at the wall. You'll see a lot of like these big gaming organizations like Team Liquid, Complexity, Fnatic, FaZe Clan. They have like these gigantic brands that sponsor them, like BMW, Mercedes, Red Bull, and they're obviously experienced marketers, but at the same time, feeding money to like those kind of opportunities is nothing for them. Like their marketing budgets are insane. So of course they're going to expose themselves to it. The upside is limitless. The downside is pretty much non-existent when you're talking about like their budgets. So we're not really going after like those opportunities as much as we're going after, the smaller brands that want to get this exposure and go into this. And so proving this, as I said before the recording started, is difficult because you're dealing with people that, they probably think they understand the marketing aspect of this. They probably, think that why would I pay anyone for help with like doing community outreach? I'm already have my own Discord channel. I already have Twitter. I'm already doing this stuff. This is nothing new. But it is, and that's a hard thing to sell. And that's probably the most difficult part of this project, but there's truth in it. And there's really only a debate to whether the digital or physical world is evolving fast right now. Both are moving extremely fast. Things are, quite literally crazy. COVID accelerated it, but we're really starting to see societal changes. People in the gaming, esports, and general online communities are at the forefront of this digital evolution. And just 2 reference points that I thought were pretty interesting to try and give validation to this cause is that, gamers have high expectations for how brands engage them online. They want content from brands that entertain them. 83% agree with that statement. Taps into their passion, 75% agree with that statement, and gives them useful information about how to use their products and services. 70% agree with that statement. These items were significantly more important to gamers than to the average YouTube user. So this was obviously a YouTube survey. And then relevancy is key to online advertising. The problems encountered by the esports industry are a microcosm of the issues encountered by all online advertising. The ubiquitous nature of online advertising often means audiences are bombarded with adverts. So, the typical boring website banners, ads, YouTube survey, blah, 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 blah. So to that statement, ad blockers have always been a thing. They're becoming more prevalent, and 22 to 27% of all users in the US and the United Kingdom use ad blockers. That's compared to 63% of, these gamers and people in the esports industry using it. So, more than double they're over it. They're done. They're advanced. They're in this next level of online advertising and marketing. They need something different. And so that's where this opportunity really comes in, where, you know, people don't want the BS anymore. They're not interested in your BMW advertisement coming across their Twitch screen with like some anime character or something like that. They don't care. They want something that's like a real connection. And that's why the Twitch, there's another stat that I had here that I didn't include, but the Twitch, a lot of their revenue, I think it's like out of like 1.8 billion, only 300 million comes from their video advertising. Everything else is like split from like their donation. So people donate because they like the genuine content. They like that. So the idea is to get the involvement with all these communities and to pitch forward a cohesive, you know, marketing strategy for these brands. And that's what the real goal of this is where, you know, we can put together different community events and, you know, leverage these different communities and pull it forward. So this is a lean canvas, kind of just here for visual. I'm not going to talk through like the details of it, but I'm going to keep talking through what I'm you know, on my thought about, which is, you know, something else I figured out during this is like, it's probably not worth my time to take, you know, different gaming organizations from like the same game and leverage them, because at the end of the day, it's kind of the same audience. So, you know, what if you take, you know, a website like mine that's doing like scouting for like this one particular game, you take another team or company from another game and you have like that community leveraged. Let's say you take like a college extracurricular like Discord community that plays like these silly games, and you just get different online communities to come together. So not only are you getting like more reach, well, you're getting more reach to like these different you know, avenues of different games. Like you have these completely different people coming together, because that's one of the big things that the people said before, where it was like, you know, it's hard to leverage because you're competing with other people that have the same exact community, maybe just more people, less people. So getting these different gaming communities to come together and having like the same message spread to all of them. You know, you have like these smaller communities, people like are more genuine with each other, and putting the message out with them. So what is that? High level concept, brand authenticity plus reach equals profit for the company that's trying to advertise. And we're doing things through Twitter, Instagram, Discord, video on YouTube's and Twitch. And as I said before, the early adopters would be like these small brands and communities who want to try leveraging something new in hopes of getting more reach and revenue. So like this is the opportunity to really be on the forefront of a marketing, very innovative moment here. And some other kind of like pitches to the companies could be, you know, help with creating your brand image, you know, find your community, join your industry. There's a really good ability to get unique data and insights for the advertiser that they've never seen before. You know, this gaming and esports demographic has such new KPIs that are coming out. Like we can even take newer ones. So if we have like these different communities from different you know, games, for example, who did you resonate most with? Did you resonate more with the Counter-Strike players? Did you resonate more with you know, what's it called? I can't remember the game with like the astronaut people that like got super viral.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but you know, these different games obviously mean different demographics. I got a minute and a half left to bounce. So lots of ideas here, lots of opportunities. Customer journey map, you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I'm out of time almost. But as far as like the roadmap, you know, on a high level, get a small company that like wants to try something new. The finding the communities to work with for me is easy. You know, like that's why I want to be in the gaming esports industry. I understand it and I can ease, like everyone wants to make money. So it's like, hey, you want to make some money? Jump on board with this. I've got an opportunity for you. So, you know, come up with like a marketing strategy that aligns with this small company. Come up with like, you know, videos, community events, you know, Twitch stream, get the graphics unified. So like their tweets are all branded appropriately. Their Twitch streams are branded appropriately. Their YouTube introductions are branded appropriately. Make sure everyone like understands their messaging that they're kind of like trying to put forward on the community side. Get everyone unified and say like, all right, let's execute on this. Let's figure out a timeline. And then from there, you know, it's kind of just seeing how things evolve. Gather the data, see what metrics make sense and are exciting to show to this like a company that's giving money, and really evolve from there. It's not necessarily something that can like, I thought about prototyping because it's just so raw, but you know, it can eventually evolve into that where like you have like the dashboard that's showing the metrics, maybe there is that community aspect where the company can come into these communities and say, hey, and engulf themselves in it for like more of the genuineness. But yeah, 10 seconds left. I guess as far as me, this project correlated pretty well because it was a passion project of mine in general. It was an innovative idea, which I love. I finished a book, and I know my time's up, but I'm going to spend like 20 seconds.
Take a minute.
Yeah.
Or two.
I've been reading. Well, I finished reading like 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, and he like had one of like my favorite quotes that I think in my product career is where it's just like, competition is BS. If you can just have the idea, like you're already ahead of the game. So if you have an idea that's new and stand out, like just build on that. And I really like that a lot because I hate copying. I hate kind of like taking best practices. Obviously it has its place and time, but I love doing things in a way that get them done. And it doesn't have to be necessarily in line with, they've been done before. And there's tons of opportunity for innovation and whatnot. And I think it really just comes down to, finding those moments and building upon them, with the proper fundamentals and making sure you're doing the research and all of that. But that's what excites me about this project is where it's new, it's raw, and there's lots of opportunity to execute on it and evaluate and see where it goes from there, and make the necessary changes kind of like as the feedback comes in. But yeah, not too much detail about me, but that was my ramble, and I'll kind of pause and end my presentation there for now.
Awesome. How do you think that went?
I think it went all right. I wish I hit on some more key points. I have like a habit of kind of like just kind of like going off and rambling down a road and missing some key points that I definitely would have liked to hit on. But I kept it moving, and I think I had some pretty decent energy. So it was good. Not perfect, but yeah.
No, it was honestly, it was really good. It was really
Thanks.
good. It felt, I like the different format, and it felt like she felt more like a startup pitch actually, because
Nice.
it was much more about the story. And I was like, this is really interesting. This is a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
So that was great. Because it felt again more like this sort of engaging presentation than just like, here are my OKRs, etc.
Yeah.
You're completely fine to take your own format. You still hit upon the key points actually, right? Which is what's the problem? Why are we here? What's the problem? How did you validate that? What do you do as your next steps, etc.? What was the strategy moving forward? I'll go through just quickly some bullet points on specifics, feedback, and then we just talk about next steps. Good start. You rambled a little bit about the name. I thought that was irrelevant. I know you find it interesting. You're going to lose people, but and annoyingly, you did then come in with a really good story hook, which is like, why did this all come about? And you came in with your backstory, similar to the hero's journey script. Why you answered that question. If for a startup content, if you're pitching for investment, that's really important as well, right? You're getting buy-in, you're showing that you're an expert, you understand the nuance of this space in a way. Again, it's sort of like the hero's journey. I love that before you stated the problem, you gave this really nice story. You're like, there's after looking in the market, there's nothing there. Looking at upcoming players, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
And again, felt like a really good startup pitch. And then you had that, you then came in with your unique insight, which is what I found was that it's really hard to advertise a community or make money from it. That's your insight, right? And that's the sort of specific problem you were going to go after. Then you came in and stated the problem, crystal clear, no fluff around it. Just here is the problem. Perfect. Nice. You want to hammer that point home. And I love that, having that second line about specifically for whatever it was, the company type.
Yeah, like forward-thinking advertisers.
Exactly. Yeah, awesome. I think it was an accident, but it was cool where you went like, oh, where do I go from here? It sounded like a rhetorical question, and I was like, okay, well, what's happening next? And then you came in, which is that's basically what the process is, right? You go, well, here's the problem. What do I do with this? And then you go into the next step. So it formed a nice bridge, even though it might have been an accident.
Nice.
On the showing the discovery call visualizations, I love the visualization because you zoomed in on the key points, right? The key frustrations. Great, you gave examples as well. Probably didn't need to go into all of those, I think if it was an internal presentation, I'd do one. If you're pitching for a start, investment, maybe the 3 key points, 3 key insights. What else? Yeah, it just helps build a really compelling picture. It's hard to argue with that. It's like, this is what the user said, bang, bang, bang. I love the logic connection as you when you did talk about the pivot, it just made sense because you bridged it really well. It's, talking about targeting the advertisers. Again, you came up with a really clear MVO without mentioning the word MVO, which is smart because, you can throw in all these words. People aren't going to understand them 90% of the time. Yeah. It's not the important thing, actually. It's about the insight and what you think is important. So I thought that was very clever, as you did at the beginning with the problem, right? You sort of gave context, told a story, and then you come in with here's the problem. So that was really smart. And then, again, like a starter, you talked about why this is a good time and why, you are uniquely positioned, because you understand that BMW can spend a shitload of money and they don't care about it. Small brands can't. That's your unique insight. On the validation, great storytelling, again, by showing those stats, right? There's little snippets of articles, what the gamers are saying. And again, you're taking that point around why now and why me, why should you invest in me? Whether that's pitching to internal stakeholders or getting investment yourself at some point. And good, really clever point coming in and saying people are already spending their own money on this stuff. Right? People are giving money to these content producers. So it shows that there's something going on here for people, again, that likely have no idea about this industry. And Lean Canvas was good. You stayed quite high level. Interesting to hear about that sort of unique KPIs. And, again, you're just showing, this industry really well. Mm-hmm. And, on the roadmap, it's fine to be brief, actually. It's fine to not show visual stuff. You talked about it clearly. That's actually the most important thing.
Cool.
I think just final points. Have you got to jump off in a minute?
No, I'm all good. I've been commuting and I get into the office at 10. So like my work from home day is so nice to.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Good. We don't need to rush so much. So yeah, that was it. A lot of quick fire points for the presentation. Let's talk then about, I think general feedback, and then we'll talk about next steps. One thing I've loved, I think you have done uniquely, is you've had a very strong vision. Jeff Bezos talks about this a lot, right? Be fixed with your vision, flexible with the details. And I think you're somebody that has lived that. Right, nice. From day one, it's been something about esports. There's something, you've known there's something here.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And that's so powerful because, people don't stick to stuff.
Yeah.
Most people are not resilient. And obviously, it's still the early stage of this idea, but it sets you in really good stead, whether you develop this out, whether you move into product leadership internally. It's so important to have that because you're always going to have people pulling you this way, other people pulling you that way. You're going to have self-doubt at times, but you need to have a North Star, right? As we do in our personal lives, as we need to have in our professional lives. So I thought that was really good. Again, you've stuck with everything. You've brought into the philosophy that, we try and teach. I think that's been great to see. And I think final general point would be, you've shown as well a very mature, it's really hard to do this, right? A maturity and detaching yourself from your ideas, right? The fact that you pivoted in a way you had clear clarity over why that decision was being made and why you were going to the new one. And that's really hard to do. I don't think I'm very good at that. So that was quite, that was impressive. I think that's something I can do because I've done 10 years of that, right? Working in startups. Mm-hmm. So I think that again is going to set you in really good stead.